And we're live! Hello, everybody!
Hey! Hello, everybody out there.
So, since this is the first official non-safe against fear stream, words are hard. I'm going to kick this off. I am Crimson Pleasure. If you don't know me from anything I've done with Bodhana, then you know me from Real Woman Gaming, my personal channel, or just, me trolling on the internet. Um, So, we are here tonight to talk about what we have coming out. But before we do that,
Yeah.
make sure you follow us on Twitter and YouTube, which that's not the right link, but it will be. And we have a Discord that we're going to have up very soon for the public. Go to the website, thebodhanagroup.org. We have merch there. We have a bunch of links that are going to pop up in chat, so make sure you follow them. It's all wonderful fun, and we are a 501c3 charity, so you can donate. And the wonderful thing about donating through PayPal is you can set up a monthly donation. They have monthly donations like $5. If you're not going to miss $5 a month, I suggest you do it. It's well worth
If you won't miss it, we will definitely welcome it.
Yes.
That is a good way to phrase that, I think.
Yes. Just cup of coffee a month. Just one cup of coffee a month. My coffee. All right. So yes, I am Crimson Pleasure. I don't know what I do here. I wrangle squirrels, and the squirrels that I wrangle are James Kirk and Jack Berkenstock Jr. So
We're squirrel.
Yeah.
Wait, we're squirrels?
Yes, you were
Apparently.
squirrels.
Are you saying we're nuts?
That as well.
Okay.
Before I let Jack go off, James, why don't you tell them who you are and what you do here?
Sure. I am James Kirk. That is my real name. Legitimately, that was what I was given, and I roll with it. Most people here will call me the captain or Cap or some version of it. I am a therapeutic GM with the Bodhana group. That means that I help facilitate our groups with people. I write games for them for RPGs and run them through worlds and scenarios and all kinds of fun stuff, and let them work on the things that they want to work on. I am also involved in Bodhana's overall creative process. I do trainings with Jack. We have professional trainings that we run not only for human services people, but also for parents and educators and all sorts of other people that want to know more about the game thing, which we're going to get to over the course of time. But yeah, I'm involved in a lot of facets, and now I'm on your picture box.
Now
on the Twitches,
beaming caps directly into your house.
That's in your brain.
By the way, there are 2 Crimson Pleasures in chat. One of them is my husband. Do not antagonize him. It'll get worse.
Do not poke the alternative Crimson.
Yeah, do not poke the alternative Crimson.
Does that get confusing at home? Do you have to do hey, alternate Crimson, knock it off? Is there?
No.
I mean, you don't have to get into the deep dark parts of it. I just want to know if it's confusing.
Crimson 1, Crimson 2.
It's really easy. The one that is typing in chat that after the Wicked was me. After that is my husband. He jumps in while I am on air, and he types in chat, and he does it to confuse new followers and who think I'm arguing with myself, and he does it to annoy me. So here we are. My husband, however, is one of the GMs that they trained for therapeutic purposes.
It's true. He was in our last class.
Another graduate of the Bodhana model of therapeutic role-playing games.
So
I have a piece of Kit Kat that's been staring at me, and I've been told I'm a squirrel. So
Yep. Sounds about right. Uh, my official title be Squirrel Wrangler. There we go.
Squirrel Wrangler?
Squirrel
You
Wrangler.
are our producer and social media orchestrator.
I better get on that social media then. Anyway, now that you know who James is and you know who I am, let us introduce you to Jack. Jack is the founder and CEO?
Executive director.
Whatever. Jack has a lot of things. It's his baby. This is his baby.
I wrapped it in swaddling clothes and took it away from a manger. No,
I get to watch it every second Wednesday or something. Like we have.
Pretty much. No, I'm executive director, founder of Bodhana, and as was said multiple times, we're a 501c3 that uses tabletop RPG and board games for educational, therapeutic, and skill building approaches. So there's a ton of stuff that we do that we're gonna talk to you about over the course of time. We run professional trainings. We run the annual Save Against Fear event. We have written 2 books that are primers on therapeutic applications of board games and RPG. We're currently working on our own role-playing game called Branch Riders, which is fast approaching more play tests and more kind of release. But
oh my god!
Yeah, we're all. There's so many. Oh my gosh, we can't talk about all of the cool things. Well, not quite yet.
We can.
We're coming there. Well, not in great detail. Well, I
can.
guess we can. Yeah, we can. Yeah, we could probably do that. But
Well,
but I though am I'm a master's level therapist who has been in the human services field for about 25 years. So I've worked with kids, teens, adults, both with and without disability. And I've been a gamer. We've all been gamers for a while. I've been a gamer since the fine age of 12. So I was like, say I got 37 years behind the screen for RPG, and
when they had to write numbers on rocks to roll
dice. I had to chisel. That's why I don't like leveling
up
so much, because I had to
go to our
get
little side fire
tablets.
and
smoke signals. Yes, I love it. Julius Caesar
got a
on an altar lamp.
By the way, they're not that much older than me. I just like making fun of them.
Oh, no, it's okay. I will proudly wear the banner of OFH. Oldest fella here.
All right, so
depending on who's in chat. I'm sorry.
Let's start off with something simple. So one of the things I wanted to do with this kickoff is I wanted to introduce these lovely creatures to you who are going to make you laugh. I wanted to introduce and cry. I wanted to introduce Bodhana to you, and then I wanted to talk to you guys about what we have planned. Talk to you all about what we have planned. So, I can highlight it later, Thea. Thank you.
So Jack and I are ready for all of this, and we haven't been told any of the questions in advance, and we'll be responding to them live. You will get our actual visceral responses. Nothing will be pre-recorded.
By the
visceral.
way,
that sounds delicious. I would love some visceral.
They're also best friends, so that's what you're gonna get.
I'm just thinking of a visceral and what the hell that is.
A visceral?
It's a cinnamon bun with just more cinnamon. Just
it's like a pastry of some kind. It's a visceral. I hope it isn't a Vichy roll, like a Vichy soie roll. That's gross.
No, we're not winning Jack's games. Winning Jack's games is over on the cast channel, which I will shout out momentarily. But first, Jack, what is the Bodhana Group?
We are an organization that loves to see the transformative power of gaming. I'll try not to use my typical elevator pitch kind of thing. It's games are something central to so many people that we play as children, we play as adults, like we play all through our lives, and the benefit that you can get out of gaming and what it offers to people, like one of James and my, favorite games of all time is Marvel Legendary, and people are like, "Oh yeah, it's superhero stuff, blah blah blah." Like, no, 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 hold on. When you're playing a game like Marvel Legendary, it's co-op deck builder, and so you're learning collaboration, cooperation, which develops social skills. You're learning critical thinking and advanced planning. You're also learning like math and how to, do these complex chains of the cards. So, even though that game is fun and it's engaging, it's this opportunity, at least from the board game side, because there's so many different applications to this, that just by playing certain games or highlighting certain aspects of games, you can build and develop skills in a way that is going to cause people to be more amenable to treatment, because typical treatment doesn't work for everybody. So we kind of came at this whole idea years and years ago. Oh my gosh, at this point, well, Bodhana's been around since 2009, for anyone who's not aware. So we've been around for a while.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it's very we're Pennsylvania's best kept secret. Um, but now we're on Twitch. No, it's so that's really what we do. I mean, so that's the board game end, but then with role playing, there's even more of an opportunity, because by telling stories inside the game, people can create characters that are relevant to themselves, their life experience, and then we create worlds and scenarios and challenges and characters that can help duplicate and replicate and give people exposure to things in their life, so they can practice skills, bring them to real world applications. So that's actually why the name Bodhana it's a Sanskrit word meaning leading to an awakening or an understanding, because we believe through playing the game and not having to, like, we don't every 5 seconds go, okay, now we're playing Marvel Legendary Crimson. So what we want you to do is we want you to think about the way that you're conversing with James about all of the strategy that you're doing. You're like, snooze fest, right?
Because that won't make me anxious at all.
Right.
Yeah,
No
and
pressure. No pressure.
I mean, that's kind of one of the big ideas of this, right? Like it kind of started with Mr. Miyagi. Like, Miyagi teaches Daniel-san karate in the guise of do my chores and clean my house type of stuff, right?
And parents' dream.
Right, and he's aggravated about it this whole time until he has to put it into practice, and he realizes, like, oh god, I've been learning this crap the whole time, and then he really gets into it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and with us, like, the idea is that, like, we don't want the people that are in our programs to constantly be reminded, like, and now we're going to do the therapy, Timmy, and then they start to close down. We give them the opportunity to practice these skills and develop these skills by doing it in a, I don't want to call it a sterile environment, but in a safe environment, in an environment where they can go outside their comfort zone and they're not in front of people they don't know, that they are scared to death to do any of these things because it will stunt the development. We give them the ability to try things out, to see how it works, to learn and fail forward and dust themselves off and get back up. That, because that's what heroes do. Like, so that's we give them that opportunity, and games are the perfect sandbox playground to make those things happen.
And there's tons of different games and options. Like, let's say a kid isn't into superhero stuff. Let's say that someone is into Harry Potter. The Battle for Hogwarts deck builder. It does virtually the same thing, but with a different overlay. So we have several different phrases that we use. One is finding the right games for the right reasons, and the other is bringing characters to life. So, whether it's, playing a game that also can work on manual and fine dexterity. We have a host of dexterity games, whether it's flick 'em up, whether it's lift 'em up, so many different options that when people first think about gaming and therapy or gaming in this approach, they go, oh, you mean like Monopoly to teach kids math? And I'm like, oh my God, Monopoly's a horrible game to teach people about
You're
math.
just
It's a
teaching how to end friendships, is what you're doing with
uh,
Monopoly.
right.
You're
Uh,
getting written out of somebody's will tonight.
pretty much. But even within that, like, Monopoly isn't really to teach you math. If you look at the history of Monopoly, which originally was called the Landlord's Game, it was a game to show you how capitalism screws you and how it's an unfair system.
It's so funny that like the number of house rules that have happened in Monopoly over the course of time, and everybody that plays it is like, rules are so oppressive. This game is just meant to beat you down. Like, yeah, that's why they made it.
Totally why it was made. To
Success.
teach people about the system.
So quickly pulling out a side of it. So we have the person who does all the stuff, 99% of the stuff, and we have James here, and James is one of the not only one of the GMs for groups, but helps with the training of new GMs for the groups. So that's one side of it. There's another, but there's a third side of it. Okay.
Ooh.
I have had the pleasure of working with Bodhana, and I can personally tell you that, one, I did not feel like I was getting therapied at any moment. That it doesn't, like, there's no stopping and be like, all right, well, we're gonna work on your abandonment issues. None of that happened. I had fun playing a game. And it was amazing. And I walked out of there with self-confidence. I cannot tell you at what moment I gained self-confidence, but that's the point. I walked out of there with self-confidence. I walked out being able to do so many things better because it helped me with a couple of things. And one of the main things, and a lot of us with anxiety have this, is it helped me with the fact that what other people are thinking about me. And I realize is they're not. Nobody gives a shit. I walked down somebody when I had my hair pink and half shaved and everything, like walking down the street, and I thought, oh, people must be like, oh, that can't be the mom. They didn't even notice that I walked by. Like, and that really helped me, because I'm like, oh, I'm judging myself. I'm not being judged. But we didn't sit down and talk about that. It just happened. It happened through the magical miracle of playing TTRPGs and having fun with a bunch of people and getting, like, you know, it was a sneak attack. I got
No, what you're talking about is all part of that. And just for everybody, because I know people are going to ask, this is Ozzy. Ozzy loves when Daddy's on camera somewhere.
Yes.
So you're going to see Ozymandias is his full name a lot.
Cat.
So just so people know, Ozzy sighting. So no, what you're talking about, Crimson, is this idea of, you know, so for example, to test that, one of the things we did was we built in, let's make characters that cause situations where you may feel judged, where that character isn't actually judging you. So then you're allowed to kind of explore your own internal reactions and like go, oh my God, what they must think of like the decisions and the actions that I'm doing or whatever. And you kind of find out naturally through the way that story progresses. Wait a minute, like one of the players in one of our groups, like they were talking about this idea of, you know, I started thinking, because some of the people we do this group with have never had role-playing experience before. So, you know, they'll sit there and they go, oh my God, I'm horrible at this. I'm going to be bad at this. I'm going to be so horrible at this. And the person literally, like the other people, like, no, you're actually, for never having role-played, you're doing a great job at jumping into character and doing all this. And they're like, well, I was wrong about that. And then in one of those, like, again, one of those little, like, wait a minute, hold on. You know, they go, could I be wrong about anything else that I think normally? Like, just the fact that I come into this every week to roleplay and I'm like, God, I suck. Like, I'm just a horrible roleplayer. And everybody's like, you're an awesome roleplayer. Like, really? You've never roleplayed before? And they're like, wait a minute. What if I'm wrong about the way I think my boss thinks about me? What if I'm wrong about the way that I think my friends think about me? What if this is all my impression of myself? And what if I can realize when I'm doing that not just at a gaming table, but what about if I can realize when I'm doing that in real life and go, there I go again.
Yep.
Here I'm having that moment, right? That's that power of, because by not making the connection for a person, like the example you said, you make your own conclusion, which is more meaningful.
Yeah.
In the end, you know.
And I have to, as somebody who has been so for those of you who don't know me, I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder along with ADHD and the plethora of gifts that those things bring to my table on a daily basis. I have been in and out of therapy since I was since I became a teenager, which is a very long time ago. And in the however many months that I worked with Jack, I got more out of that than I have single therapy for a very long time. Now, I will preface it with I am actively in therapy. I started therapy years ago. I am on a medication regimen, like all of those things. So this was I had started the work. This was a huge stepping stone for me. But I also feel like if you can't do talk therapy, if it just doesn't feel like that for you, what's it hurt to try something a little bit different? Act like somebody else. You don't have to play yourself. You can play whoever it is that you want to play.
Or whatever. There's
or
a
whatever.
ton of, what is it, James? We got fantasy RPG, we got supernatural, we got horror, we got western, we got, superheroes,
Magic.
we got science fiction,
Jack,
magic. Yeah.
Jack, I'm sorry. I'm hearing you, and all I'm thinking about is that scene from Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh,
when they're describing
no,
I can't. I'm not going to. I'm just saying, like,
even though we're rated mature,
we've got
let's not go
fantasy
there.
RPG, we've got modern day RPG, we have Cthulhu, we've got Bogmire.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
No,
I
there's
can hear Cheech Marin in my head now.
I can watch that movie.
You can fit these into a multitude of different worlds to be able to tell stories that will fit varying needs, and a lot of it comes from us just like saying, hey guys, what kind of game do you want to play, and then being able to tailor something to what they want to do. One of our groups decided they wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, but they wanted it to be a horror. They're gonna regret that.
I regret that for them.
Because I'm in charge.
I know it's coming.
Oh boy.
And they're gonna have new trauma.
Yeah. We try not to. It's probably, you had mentioned earlier, like, you don't have to play yourself. That's actually one of my favorite things that I see folks in our groups do, is when they're having that conversation, and it's that whole, like, this isn't therapy, I'm just playing a character kind of thing. And somebody says to them, like, you're really good at this for not having roleplayed before. And they go, well, it's really easy. I'm just playing myself. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, realization bomb in 5. And they're like, no, I'm just playing me. Like, this is just how I would react to the situations.
By the way, I just want to throw out there in chat, Wicked says, I see your trauma and raise you more trauma. And I couldn't let that go unsaid.
No, it is. It's that, I mean, people say, it's just really easy. I'm playing myself. But I think for so many people how truthfully difficult it is for them to, quote unquote, play themselves, like to be themselves. So even that idea of, playing a character within this fictionalized creation, this fictionalized construct, that affords so much safety and safe space, because it's a game. It's a game. I fail this roll, I make the next one. It's a game. There's no real world consequences here. And even that added bonus of, because Bodhana model, we always have 2 GMs when we're doing a therapeutic game. So, we have a lot of times where, like James will be running the story and I'll be kind of in the background playing an NPC, or like, on the, in chat message that we have during, Zoom or whatever we're running it through. It's like, hey, everything all right? That was a rough situation we just had. You cool? So there's so many different ways to build in that, if people need that more direct approach, we can build that in. If folks need it to be more on the sly, we can make it that way as well. It's an excessively customizable form of therapy,
Yeah.
which
the second facilitator often plays a party member. Jack and I, like, when we're working together, whoever is running the game, whoever's writing it, we share all the ideas where we're going to go, what we need to do, because as the therapeutic part of it, we need to know what we're planning to be able to execute it at the table. But the facilitator in the game as a player allows us, when we have those groups that, a lot of people are being quiet or they're not really interacting, we can kind of provide some of that agency without them feeling like the GM is coming down on them or like not interacting with the story. Jack right now in one of our games is playing a character that is just like a genuinely good person, but has that low book smarts, but is very, very genuine, is going to probably cause a lot of moral issues in the group as they continue to go, because that's one of the things that they want to work on. They want to work on dealing with those types of situations. So we created a character that Jack can play that forces those interactions even when the group doesn't want to have them. Our group before this, I played the character in the party, and that party was playing they were playing Pugmire, right? So it's D&D canines, and D&D is about adventure and exploring, and they were like, we want to adventure, just you go first. Like, so nobody really, like, there was no initiative, there was no agency. So I switched the character that I was playing to this headstrong guardian fighter. It was just this like loud braggart. Like, my big flaw was I can't leave a door unopened.
Oh no.
And so I spoke like this the whole time that time for adventure. Sally forth, people. And I would just head down and I would go into the thing and I would pull weapons and I would start hitting, and they're like, no, we want to talk to them. I'm like, what is this talk you speak of? I'm bored. That was what they needed, because eventually they had to rein me in by making decisions for the party themselves before it got to me. And that's what we wanted them to do. We wanted them to create their own agency as players. So we added an element of uncontrollable chaos in this character, Trevor, that was just, if we don't do something, he's gonna go punch it. And we don't necessarily want him to punch it. So let's come up with something different. And eventually they started taking charge. And as Trevor, instead of letting them take charge, I started reacting even faster, which made them decide faster. Now we're working on not only taking agency, now we're working on like managing crisis situations and quicker thinking and having resiliency and the ability to respond to ever-changing outside stimuli, and how do we keep control of a situation that feels like it's going out of control. All of a sudden, they're working on all of these things just because I'm playing the loudmouth jerk. Just won't let up.
Yep.
All the
so that's
introverts in
like
chat
that's
are crying.
That's one of the main things that we can do with one of the facilitators playing with the players, is we can help guide the narrative. We don't take control of it, and it's a fine dance. It's something that Jack and I have had to practice a lot. Luckily, we've been playing RPGs for most of our natural lives.
Yeah.
So we know what we're doing, but it was the matter of like, now I can't be that veteran player at the table that knows what he's doing and is just like, I went to school for theater, right? So I'm a trained actor to begin with.
That
So
explains so
I
much.
yeah, I probably should. Me like performing at a table is like that's just ingrained in my DNA, So I have to hold some of that back. And while I'm playing a specific role, I'm really just doing it to guide other people. It's not just for my own personal enjoyment anymore. Um, and that's a skill that took me time to learn. Um,
So much. That's so much. Um, playing the devil's advocate is fun. It is a lot of fun, and I think they make it a bigger kick out of it than you maybe should. But whatever keeps us going.
Well, it's again, it's that whole deal of when you're in the middle of that story. I mean, the other thing that's really, really, really big, and like you said, in your experience, Crimson, it was you didn't know you were quote unquote being therapized. So we baked it into the story so well that it was just a natural part to working on things without having to call it out every 5 seconds, which can get daunting. It can also be very overwhelming. I myself also I have severe ADHD as well as bipolar mood disorder. So yeah, traditional therapies did not work for me. Man, if I would have had this available to me when I was a kid, well, in one hand, I wouldn't have wanted it to be because then I wouldn't be the person that I am. But on the other hand, though, whether there's just that baking in that intentionality through the portrayal or anything. Any story could be told, so any story could be rewritten.
Mm-hmm. And it's also amazing to call back to Save Against Fear. I'm terrible with names, but there is a lovely lady who was showing us a case study about a family group.
Jennifer.
Jennifer, that's right. A case study. She took the game Masks, which is a superhero game. Superhero game with much more. I hate boiling it down to one thing. That's not quite it, but anyway. There was two parents, two children, one was like beginning teenager, later teenager, middle teenager, and that must be amazing because for somebody who has PTSD, being in family therapy can be terrible. It can be absolutely terrible. So I think that this opens up a lot of opportunities because when I did family therapy, when I talk to people who've done family therapies, there's a lot of like yelling and arguing. There's a lot of blame game and pointing fingers. This removes all of that. It removes all of it, and it says, "Hey, we're gonna do the thing. We're gonna talk about the thing." And again, they get therapy without even realizing it, and it helps them be a better family on so many different levels.
Well, look at. I mean, that idea of the family. Look at the Fantastic Four, the Incredibles. Like, there's tons of examples of like in any team, any group, you have a lot of the same dynamics that you would have within an adventuring party that are like in a family. You have the decider, you have the nurturer, you have the steward of the other. You also have the one who getting comfortable receiving help is another thing that so many of those dynamics. Groups are groups and people are people, so we'd find a creative way to work on those conversations and to have those conversations so it isn't okay, I want you to tell your dad how much he sucks, in therapy. And it's like, and you're looking over, right. But on the other hand, you're also looking like, oh shit, we're in a session. So what's going to happen after we're done and I've just unloaded on this? You don't feel as safe. But if you're in the middle of an RPG and you can build in some of those elements, then you could explore that through the character as opposed to having that. It really helps people. I mean, that's the one thing that RPG gave me was RPG. I was not at all as verbose and comfortable with people. I was not an extrovert. There's still a part of me that's still like that hidden introvert that loves kind of, pandemic hasn't in some ways been as bad on me as it has been on a lot of other people. I kind of, Although I
Feeling a
miss
little
people,
called
I
out.
miss crowds, you know? Right. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm in my box. I'm all right in my box. I'm okay. But
Hashtag that demic life.
This is
but
where I live. This is
yeah,
where...
this is my home. But no, it's that idea of with exploring all of these different things throughout that safe space. Like there's so much freedom that I found with being able to explore voices as parts of myself and to explore, you know, confidence in creativity that I had always yearned for. I always wanted to be a writer when I was a kid. Never had the confidence to really pursue it. But in a role playing game, man, I made adventures, I made worlds, I made characters, all these portrayals, and I developed so much confidence through, man, these people at my table like what I'm putting out there. Like they like me, you know, and so it
You
became
really
like
like me.
it,
Sorry.
exactly. Like no, it's totally right. It's like, you know, screw the people that didn't like me because I found people who did. And you know, that RPG hobby and that shared experience, it's even more magical in that way.
Exactly.
Had a
God.
I had a lot of if I was in Star Wars, what would I do? You know, or if I was adventuring with Indiana Jones, what sort of sidekick would I be? And that was something that RPGs let me explore to the point where I didn't even know the amount of stories and scenarios and worlds were pouring out of my head that I needed to make my own games around. Like I don't think I could write a novel. I don't think I could write a book.
I can't.
I could sure as hell write and run a 3-year campaign, you know, that meets once a week, you know, and run a game and write the story with, you know, 5 or 6 other people. Do it that way, you know, just based on an idea that I had.
Yeah.
Go from there. I could knock that out of the park. And that was one of the big draws for me. Was it gave a lot of this nervous, bubbling to the surface creativity a chance to finally come out in a more expressive way, as opposed to being repressed and then, you know, eventually I just dye my hair all black and wear it over the front of my face and outside
Am I being called
my
out?
porch with like dry
I was
ice
just saying,
machines. And...
I don't know, James. That's that's
I was thinking the South Park kids.
Yeah, as
Little, like,
the
goth kids
resident
in South
goth,
Park.
I resemble that remark. And I don't like it. I'm in this picture and I don't like
you are awesome.
He's like, I feel seen.
it. I feel too seen. So we all know what Bodhana is, and we all know who we are. So a couple months ago, I sat down with Jack and I was like, Jack, I thought I heard you wanted to do a Twitch channel. You said something about doing Twitch with me earlier, and
Yeah,
he was like, yeah.
Yeah, actually, one of the guys that one of the folks that's in the chat actually is another member of Bodhana who had been saying for a long time, like, "Yo, you guys really need to get on Twitch. You need to get on Twitch." And we were trying to explain, like, I don't know how the hell it works. We don't have any. And then you.
How does one Twitch?
How do you the Twitch? So
How do Twitch?
I had talked to Jack. A couple of times. We did some stuff together with Real Women Gaming, and we raised some money. And I had been trying to, like, subtly, which then I realized Jack doesn't go with subtle. I've been trying to subtly, like, hey, I should be a member of the Bodhana group. But subtle didn't work, so I pulled him into a meeting and I was like, you want a Twitch channel? He's like, yeah, but I know how to do it, Jack. I know how to do it. I've been doing this for years.
Right, then I was like, oh, wait, is that what you were trying to talk to me about for all those months?
For months now. So, and because Jack is an amazing person, James, everybody that at Bodhana is an amazing person. I love everybody that I get to now work with, which is wonderful. Thank you, Crimson. I kept trying. Well, somebody had to do it. Somebody had to get on the front of the car and say, you know what, I'm just gonna drive.
We never thought the idea was a bad idea. None of us had the technical know-how to help pull it off.
I couldn't imagine you, like, I adore you, Jack. I love you. I could not imagine you trying to stream on Twitch.
No, the technical. Wait, where do I put the link with the thing? Links, do I need to go to the hardware store and get a set of chains? Links,
I thought that Link was still trying to rescue Zelda.
Wait a minute.
How do I
Links,
make this work?
Links, are we talking about sausages again? Are we talking about sausages? Is that
I have
what
an
the links are?
ocarina. I don't
No.
even know what that is or how to use it.
Actually, I believe that the links refer to golf courses. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's 4 jokes off of the word link. This is how we... I'm sorry, go ahead, Crimson. We're
It's just
painting
like,
the town
oh my god, it's just like you two are both related to my husband, and this is some punishment for something I've done in a past life. So
The Twitch channel, she said. It'll be fun, she said.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what, let's do the thing. Let's get together and let's just do the thing. And then we did Save Against Fear, and Save Against Fear was an amazingly wonderful time. We got you guys got to see all the panels and stuff like that. We're redoing them since Twitch got rid of them, but we're going to redo the panels so we can put them up on YouTube and everybody can watch them whenever.
Yep.
But then we sat down and we're like, well, what we have it. What are we going to do with it now? We have the thing.
We got this channel. Good luck, Twitch. See you next year. What?
So, you know, everybody has a lot of ideas. Me and James are just like horror siblings. Like, we're just like, we can scare the shit out of people. Do you want to... what's behind me? Oh, a Silent Hill. I got my Silent Hill nurses behind me.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
I love that art.
Oh, this is Chris Garofalo of Quilt Face Studios. He does amazing art. And bye, Max. Have a good night. See you soon.
Later.
So we're like, what are we gonna do about it? All right, well,
Message us, Max.
Message them, Max. So the first thing was, okay, well, we're gonna do some TTRPG stuff because this is kind of what it is. This is what Bodhana does. So we are coming up with, and this is going to be probably starting next year, but there is going to be this is kind of how therapy works in a TTRPG with one-shots. We're gonna do a thing where the DM, whoever is running the game, is going to sit down with the players and they're going to create characters, and we're going to talk about that process, because the process for creating a character for a therapy game is so much different than creating a character for a regular game. But there are a lot of amazing aspects to it that I would love to see DMs, game masters everywhere, for every game, pick up and listen to and try, because, you know, now that mental health is not such a taboo subject anymore and we're all talking about it, it's one of those things to consider, you know? Like, somebody might have a trauma with clowns. You want to make sure, you know, you express that, and your husband doesn't play clown driders in your game.
Wait. Clown riders?
Yes.
It's oddly specific.
Yeah, that
You heard me.
Oh,
clown
okay.
rider. Okay.
Driders.
That happens.
Gliders.
Driders that are clowns.
That's a lot of big squeaky shoes.
Like, so if you're scared of spiders and clowns, You have a new trauma. Thanks, Troy.
It's a twofer. Wow.
I don't want to put any spoilers out there, but
And children in meat suits. Yeah, we can't forget about the children in meat suits.
Aren't I wearing a meat suit?
Oh no, this was way worse. This was
you're wearing a jacksuit.
You're wearing a jacksuit. No,
I'm wearing
we went to a town, the town that had the Strider clowns, and we realized that none of the adults were real. The children were climbing into the carcass of their parent and walking around and pretending to be them.
Yikes. But I'm confused, though. So, are they Drider clowns or clown driders? Because I don't know whether to call them Clyders or Drowns.
That would be between you and Troy.
I would go with Clyders. Drowns would say to me that it's some sort of like underwater
like a nautical
type
thing?
of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clyders is probably the way to go if you're gonna amalgamize those two
Clown
things.
driders, Jack. No, he's trying to figure out how to name it one thing. Wicked says
Yeah,
they're
how
called
to make-
Nope.
No, what's its Benifer version?
Fair.
Like, what's it, You actually, one thing I wanted to ask you is, so what do you think, because you've played role-playing games, but then you also had the therapeutic role-play, what is different about that character? Like, what did you find? Because I'm always fascinated to, like, find out more from the other side of it,
So, the interesting, like, the most interesting thing, it was like, there was a lot of like, okay, what do you want to do? But it was, what do you want to do, not what do you want to play? It was like, how do you want to do this? Like, so I chose to play myself because I've gotten to a point where I like me, and I've hit that point of like no more fucks where I really can't separate me and characters. That one moment where somebody does something stupid and I just fly right out and I'm like, ooh. So I decided to play me. It was best for me. So we talked about what that looked like. But we talked about what that looked like from like a very like, it wasn't just like, oh, give me your backstory and I just sit there and write this long ass back. No, we had a conversation. We had a conversation about the character I was going to play, why I wanted to play it, what their like influences and stuff like that were going to be, the things that they had on them, and why we had them. So like I was playing me, and at first I thought it was going to be in the 90s, but it was not. But playing me, I had a bunch of TTRPG stuff in my bag. I had like I had a thing of like magic cards, which magically disappeared when it was no longer relevant. Game Boy stuff like that, stuff that represented me. But there was like, why was it in there? There was a reason. So that was really interesting. And then we talked about the obvious do's and don'ts. So what do you want to work on? What is okay and what are your hard stops? And it wasn't just like what is okay. It was like, okay, like what is the no? So for me, an absolute no is any violence against children is a no. And then you have things like what can be touched on but not given detail to. So say that you have some like aversion to physical violence. Like you can hear about like, oh, this kid at school got beat up, but we're not going to go into the details of it. So it did happen, but we're not like making that a scene. It's an afterthought, like it's a rumor. And then what are the things that are you okay with? So and it's not like I'm okay with like, I'm okay with adventuring. It's you have to think of it like in the what might trigger you sense. What do you find hard to do sense? Maybe like what do you want to work on sense? I have a big thing about abandonment issues. I forgot the word. So like that was something that we could work through. That was a green light for me. We can go and do this. We can, but I don't. I like if it happened, and I'm sure it did. I didn't know it happened. But I feel less abandoned by people. Thanks, anxiety. So that was different. It wasn't just creating a character and writing a backstory. By the end of it, this was a full-fledged 3D model of a character. You know, it wasn't. It was an actual person. It was bringing, as you said, bringing a character to life, because there's so much more involved in making her than any other game I've had been in before. You know, we talked about details and stuff like that. Talked about the fact that I always had my leather jacket. That was a detail that we talked about.
Well, it's the idea that in a typical, like a lot of the stuff that we do in a therapeutic setting, I think are things that a lot of regular GMs kind of forget, or they feel ruins the fun. But I actually feel like consequences are a real big one. That, you know, there are consequences in a game for characters' actions. I think a lot of GMs really ignore that.
Yeah.
Because, like, well, I don't want to make it real. It's a game. And it's like, well, but if a hero is like, welcome, Bond, your mission is, oh, never mind, you've already finished it. Like, if there's no consequences to, like, you now have a nemesis, or you now, you know, if you're murder hobos, you have a tough time finding a place to stay in the town because they're like, not in our town, buddy, get out of here. Like, so many things that people can build in, like really meaningful characters. Most people, unfortunately, don't make characters. They make stats.
Yeah. Stats with legs.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I want to be able to hit the monster and kill and do all the things. We say this all the time. D&D, technically, if you want to really look at it ostensibly, is not a role-playing game. It is a combat simulation game that people inject role-playing into. There's opportunities for it, sure, but I mean, how many, you know, back when I used to play, it was like, you know, I never took a character that was like high wisdom, high intelligence, or high charisma. I always took fighting, you know, high strength, high dexterity, high constitution. Why? Because that's what kept me alive in the game. Yeah. So, you know, how much roleplay can you do when your character gets gacked in the first, like, 3 adventures, you know?
There's also the discussion beforehand with things like, and this is something that we've talked about previously, and I don't think is brought up enough, is there going to be racism? Is there going to be homophobia? Like, is there going to be sexism? I am playing a fantasy game. I am a bisexual woman. I do not want to encounter any of that shit, okay? Because I see it on the news. I'd rather just go play my happy little character, you know? So there are things that I think that we forget to address, and I think this also, like, really brings that to light. Like, we need to take care of people. Like, we want to have fun, but there is a bit of, like, okay, let's not, like, screw somebody's day up and talk about something that they don't want to be talked about.
I had a group where one of our players was a
great story.
He was a young man he was an African American, and when we were having our session 0 and talking about, like, what do you guys not want to have in the game, he had said, like, I do not want to deal with racism. And his reasoning for it, like, one of the players in our group, unfortunately, it was from a good place. Like, it wasn't because he was trying to, you know, instigate this guy at all, but he had that, you know, like, well, if we don't talk about racism, we can't fix it, you know, like,
yeah,
get it? Like, I understand what you're saying. And this kid, one of the most mature things I had heard, he said, you know, like, look, don't want to talk about it because I've had to scrub the N-word off of my garage after getting home from school. I've had to deal with it day in, day out. We are getting together and playing this game as a time for us to be able to socialize. to put these things down for a little while. I don't want it in my game because it's in everything else that I do.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I just like that. Oh boy,
Well, but
we're not going to have that in the game then.
well, but no, the odd part of that was that like when we didn't even have that conversation out of nowhere. Like it originally started with another player, basically talking about not wanting dragons to be maligned within the world, and which was interesting because the whole adventure hook that James created for that story was you're all taking credit for the killing of a dragon that you didn't kill. No problem with that.
Okay, so they were first level characters.
It's a good
and
story.
Whole idea was that they got in over their head. They accepted the bounty on a dragon. They were like, we're just going to go kill it together because then we'll be big damn heroes. And this all happened before the game started. The conceit of the game was that they went in as first level heroes to go and kill a fairly old blue dragon that just owned them in the face. And while they were about to be eaten, the dragon, raising up, stomping, swipes its tail, scares the crap out of them, and causes a stalagmite to come down and impale it through the skull.
Oh my god.
Dragon's dead. They're all standing there in front of this thing, and they're like, hey! So they went back to the town, and they were like, look at us, we killed a dragon. So now they're dragon slayers. Except the actual adventure is now me throwing them into a series of scenarios that they have no business being involved in as first level characters because they're in way over their head and they have to come up with creative ways to solve it. Otherwise, they're going to be outed for not killing this dragon.
I killed 7 with
Keep
one
talking.
blow.
I will be right back.
Cool.
So at one point, they had to go back to the cave. And while they were in the cave, one of the players decided they were going to take a knuckle from the dragon skeleton and turn it into some dragon dice, some bone dice, which I legit do it. And one of the players had messaged me after the game later on, just private messaged me and was like, "Hey, how much would I need to be able to take to make bone armor?" I'm like, "Well, you can, but you're not going to be able to carry out everything you need in your 2 arms. You're going to need to bring a cart. You're going to need to transport that stuff back. Like, it's going to take a little time to harvest. Not saying you can't do it, just that it's going to take some time." And he was like, "Okay, cool." And then Jack, an hour later, comes back to me in private message and is like, I've decided I'm really offended by the fact that he took dragon bones to make dice because I don't really feel like these creatures should be harvested. And I'm going to have to call an X card on that." I went,
What?
like, didn't you just ask me to harvest dragon bones to make armor, and now you're offended by it when I said not right now? Are you one of my children? How do
weird.
you, so we had to have a whole conversation about that. And just, and you treat it, even though it's out of left field, treat it with the same dignity that you would treat anything else because this person said this was a, offensive, triggering thing, and instead of just being accusatory, you present the conversation and kind of get down to the root of the problem. Like, what do you actually have an issue with? Because if it's the harvesting of leftover parts, then there's no leather armor. There's no hide armor. There's no, all of these things, all of these byproducts that we get from animals and monsters, in a Dungeons and Dragons game. I have to get rid of all of that in this game if that's the problem. He's like, no, it's only really mythological creatures. Okay. Because a lot of the story revolved around the death of this dragon. Like, they were going to be dealing with this, and there were going to be things that were going to bring it back up. And you know, what are you going to do? But that's, you know, one of the core things. You have to treat each of those situations with some sort of dignity, because this person came to me and at the end of this conversation had said to me, this is an offensive thing, you know, so all right, let's talk about it. And the group did. They talked about it, and we just decided that mythological creatures were not going to be harvested for their spare parts. Cows and lambs and sheep were fine.
Now, the good thing about all that was that through, because like a lot of people talk about, there's a lot of conversation where we're going to probably talk in a lot of our future episodes with like tabletop stuff from the table and with some special guests and stuff.
You have so many things
Safe,
planned.
yeah, safety tools, consent in gaming. It's a hugely important discussion to have. A lot of people are on many different sides of it. There are people like, well, you know, but policing my game and changing my story content, you friggin' Nazis, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, can we not go to that internet rule again? But you really can't have safe space until you've had and dealt with unsafe space.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because people don't feel heard, they don't feel respected, they don't feel honored. So this whole conversation that eventually led to a, okay, all right, now that shit's on the table, okay, here we go, no racism. All right, there. I felt that player didn't feel comfortable even bringing that up until we established it's okay to say that something is not comfortable, because most players in a regular game are not going to want to be the fun police for everybody else. They don't want that feeling that, well, we were going to do a horror game, but because I said I didn't like body horror, now other, you know, I know Freddy across the table loves himself some body horror. So now I've ruined Freddy's game because I'm being a prude or whatever. Like, people don't normally speak up,
Well,
but like, you know,
It can't have 4 arms, Freddy. Let it go with 2 arms, just like everybody else does.
As the woman at the table, I have been in many unsafe tables, and
yeah,
people
I don't
think
doubt it.
that unsafe means something very specific. Unsafe is a couple of people sitting around the table that'll make jokes about women or comment on the size of my boobs or something sexual like that, but then pass it off as a joke. That is an unsafe space. I wasn't respected. I wasn't heard. I didn't feel safe, and I didn't feel comfortable. And I was the only woman there, so it was okay, and the guys didn't feel anything wrong about it, and sex jokes would happen in the game as well, and I hated it. But because I didn't want to ruin it for everybody else, and I was still internalizing a lot of things at that time, I just sucked it up and let it happen. So I like went forward just like, oh, like in my back of my head, oh, this is natural, this is just the way things are going to be, because you know this is a guy's game. I'm 40 now. I really don't give a crap about anybody. And I'm going to play it how I want to play it. And if you have a problem with it, I'm going to shove my foot up your ass.
Yeah, now, and granted, there are tables where that, if everybody in around the table agrees, you know, that you're role-playing like an 80s sex comedy or whatever, where, you know, it's just a bunch of dick and fart jokes and whatever. Like, if that's what the table agrees to, okay. Everyone agrees to it. But even those rules can change, right? Like, you could have a life event that significantly changes the way you look at that play. And it's not about policing it. It's not about, you know, cancel culture, work, all these, you know, the terms that people shoot out staccato but don't really know what any of them mean. It's about people having a good time
Yeah.
and not wanting to trigger or impact someone when you're trying to do something fun.
Yeah. And like people do like things change all the time. I am a avid horror fan. I love the horror. I love anything I can get my hands on most of the time, which is terrible. I will binge it. However, I had me a kid. I popped a kid out, and now I cannot watch anything where children are hurt. Nope. I mean, like,
Yeah.
there's some stuff, like, The Conjuring was fine, stuff like that, but, like, kids murdered and stuff? No. Like, I have a hard line of, like, child abuse? No. Like, we're not doing any of that, because in my mind, all I can think of is somebody doing that to my daughter, and then all those anger issues I've been working on, and then I'm ready to punch somebody for looking at her wrong, and then I'm going to end up in jail. So, like, that's a big trigger for me.
We don't want that.
We don't want that. But, you know, things change. So you want to, like, check in with people every once. Like, hey, how's it going? Like, you know. And then I also love the check-in and, like, the check-in, like, hey, how was everybody's week? Everybody good? And I also think that's... Yeah, I have no bail money. Thanks, honey. I think that's great, especially on the therapeutic sense. Because it's like, what if I had, like, a difficult, like, oh, I had a fight with my mom, you know, and I have problems with my mom. Therapist might be like, you know what, I'm going to take that, shove it into something real quick, and we'll see what happens, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something else interesting that gets brought up with that, because that, like,
so
what she's referring to specifically, Jack and I built in with all of our groups about 30 minutes before the actual group starts. And it is optional, but we very rarely have people that, like, don't log in at this time. We just let everybody talk and kind of, like, give their, like, hey, what was your rap for the last week? Like, and it doesn't have to be like, you know, what happened last week that was bad. We want to hear about your triumphs too. We want to celebrate with you. We want to hear the good and the bad. One of the things that can inform, along with taking those things and, like, kind of putting them in and being like, well, we're going to push that button today, you know, something else that it can do is, you know, we've had people that they've had an off game. So, like, they just didn't seem like they were that into it this specific time. So those discussions beforehand can also inform, like, Jack and I, when we're running the game, you know what, this might not have anything to do with the game. This person might be having conflicts that are outside of the game. They're just not able to put down, just might not be feeling it today. So some of that, we talk a lot in our trainings about, you know, like, table conflict and about, you know, conflict resolution and ways to manage conflict at the table. Understand it's going to happen. Don't just, like, hope that it never happens. Understand that it will. Yeah. But being able to respond to it appropriately. Yeah. And knowing that I had a really tough week at school. I had a friend of mine that, you know, is no longer my friend. They got into some kind of a fight or an argument. And then in the game, two of the characters start arguing, and this person all of a sudden becomes, like, oddly passionate, you know, about what that argument is, even though there's no reason for them to be passionate. It's because they just had a fight this week with one of their friends, and this might be bringing some of that stuff back. Yeah. Jack and I know this because we gave them the opportunity to kind of share that stuff in the beginning. Now we might, like, we could at least make an educated guess as to what's triggering that. We can manage that appropriately. Given that we had that little tidbit of info, and we would manage it pretty much the same way, even if we didn't. Knowing that ahead of time does help us to manage some of that conflict that can happen during the game, because it's not always about the game. It's about things that people are people. So why should it be that you and I can get along? So hopefully, I
think it also
Depeche Mode for a second.
I think it also opens up a really interesting thing of, like, those of us who have trouble telling our friends what's going on, like, even our support system, like, oh, you know, what you know, what's going on today, like, you know, everything's fine. Well, obviously it's not fine, but like, telling a group of strangers what's wrong really opens up that you're like, I can tell anybody anything now. I can basically tell anybody anything. I was going to say, let me backpedal a little bit in case my therapist sees this and catches me on it. I can almost tell anybody anything.
Yeah, I was just saying, you're better. Like, no, that's not what I meant at all.
You don't need me.
No, it's that she would catch me on the, like, but why don't we talk about you, Crimson? And I'm going to be like, shut up. This isn't about me.
What do you talk about your mom? Yeah, yeah. How about that? How about that, fancy therapy lady?
But
we
go ahead.
I was saying, honestly, I could probably do an entire series of talks about consent at the table,
Oh, good.
and that,
You
yeah,
happen to have a channel with programming.
yeah.
And guess what? We have a show dedicated to that.
Ah!
I figured at some point we have to tie to some type of weird agenda about what we have coming up, because there's a lot of people that misunderstand consent. There's a lot of people that misunderstand safety tools. I created this whole adventure, and now my players said, no, they don't want this in the game, and I had an example in a Shadowrun game where I was like, yeah, I just off the top of my head, I'm like, okay, what's criminal and deplorable? Dogfighting ring. Okay, that's the crime. I wasn't going to heavily focus on it, but I built this in, and I had already set it up, like where they're going to be and what they do and who the people are and why they do it and all this stuff. I had a whole big thing. And my players, and this was before safety tools, was like, animal cruelty, I'm out.
Yep.
And I went, okay. And literally it was like, are you okay if they sell illegal BTL better than life chips? And they're like
Stuffed animal
misusing the
fighting
talent. Stuffed animal.
Stuffed animal
I
fighting
love it. I love it.
Thank you,
But no,
Imagine Dragons.
I changed the concept because I knew that player, very good friend of mine, was not going to have a good time.
Yeah.
Because that was triggering for her. And it's that she's not controlling my content or like being some, because that's where a lot of people are, I want people to have fun at my table. I want people to have a good time. So yeah, I'm going to change it.
And
Speaking of that, she's like, you didn't let him do the animal stuff, right? Right, Mom?
Like, I heard dog fighting. I don't like it.
Another thing. Okay, so everybody who knows me knows I'm very for everybody's sexual health. So one of the things that we talk about when we talk about consent in any kind of sexual content, this is very weird to talk about this with you on my lap. Whenever we talk about that, we also talk about enthusiastic consent. So like that's also one of those moments where it's like, okay, well, we're running through this thing, but like, was she fine before we started doing this? And it's kind of like, all right, whatever,
Yeah.
that there's an enthusiastic consent there. It's noticing the little details. And I'm sure that either the two of you would notice right away if I was like, oh yeah, this is amazing and rolling. And then we get into a situation where I'm just like, all right, yeah, whatever, that there's a demeanor change. So consent is not just verbal words and stuff like that. It's also body language. It's how a person's reacting to something.
Right, and it's also representation in gaming is also important. That and again, I know that these are hot button issues for a lot of people who have opinions on either side of the board, but we never get anywhere if we just ignore conversation to some degree. It has to be respectful and responsible. But even the representation of a person, like what stereotype? Oh, you're bisexual, so I guess you're just into everybody. You just what? And there's so many like. So does that mean you're loose? And it's like whoa, whoa, whoa. So even
have you been spying on my life?
But you know what I mean? Like if you want to play a character and maybe that character is homosexual or bisexual or transgender or whatever, the way that you play that character sends a message. So even that in terms of representation, like we always joke around about, here, short quiz. If you're going to role play or have somebody role play a scientist, typically what nationality would that character be? What do you
German.
think? Yeah, German, naturally. If I'm a mobster, what nationality am I?
Italian.
If I'm a chef,
Swedish.
I got all. I think I've answered all of these incorrectly because mine was one Asian scientist. I watched too many horror movies. Russian mob
the Asian
is the best mob.
Part,
okay.
Asian scientist part, you watch Godzilla.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the
That's fine.
kaijus.
And then Italian chef. I went Italian chef.
Okay. but you see the point
Goddamn
of,
Korean horror.
some people can say this is, representation the way we play. And it's even as simple as if I'm role playing a female character as an NPC. I should be conscientious about how I'm playing that character. Now, in a therapeutic game, it could be specifically like this person is working on issues with, their mother, or they're working on issues with like sibling rivalry. So I'm going to play aspects of that person that they want to get that benefit out of. But even there, the way that we role play reflects a lot of our attitudes. So that's something I don't think a lot of people pay attention to, where they always play the smarmy, bitchy, unapproachable woman. I'm like, what are you telling me?
Yeah, I am. So this is a situation that happened a couple of years ago, and it left left a weird taste in a bunch of our mouths. And we were at a TTRPG thing. Lots of different people were playing, and one person talked about how their character is racist, but they are not racist. And we all went, what? They're like, no, my character's racist, but I'm not racist. And I was like, I hear the words that you're saying, but nothing is connecting. Like, I don't quite understand. Like, so, like, I would,
why
like,
is my character racist?
My character says terrible things, but I would never say those things. And I'm like, no, see, that says a lot about you, and you actually open your, like, I got it. Like, we got it. We understand the underlining context.
Is there a reason? Is there a point that way? Like, just going back to this thing, because now I'm intrigued.
Oh, no,
was there a point why the character was racist?
From what we got was they were just racist. It was like, it was a cultural thing. And I'm like, no, that's a decision. You've made a decision.
Right, if it doesn't have impact or anything, it's well, I don't want them to smoke, so they'll be racist.
Me and Vinny, we've been playing together for quarter of a century. And we have this running joke between us that if I play an elf and he plays a dwarf, they hate each other. And they have a lot of things to say. My elf has a lot of things to say about dwarves. Dwarf has a lot of things to say about elves. Between the two of us, we've made this thing that happens, okay? He won't, I won't comment on anybody else's dwarf character. Well, most of the time I know those people, so yeah, I probably will. But if I don't know you, I'm gonna explain it to you like this is a 25-year-old running joke. And, nobody...
You would tell the table ahead of time, right?
By the way...
Okay, hey...
By the way, because... And it all started because the two of us were standing in front of a fountain. I was new to role-playing. I don't hate dwarves, but I don't play dwarves because they're not a favored race of mine. I started saying that his mom had a beard better than his, and he said something about eating leaves. So we're fighting this out in front of this fountain. We're fighting it out to the point where we don't realize the water weird has come up out of the fountain and is basically just waiting for us to stop so it can attack us. And because of that scenario, 25 years later, here we are with the same joke because it just struck us as funny.
But the point was, you would make the table aware of that, though.
Yeah, there's a reason behind it. And it's not reflective of our personality.
And it's also and it's also humor, because I would also ask the question, and then that, well, what do you mean they're racist? Like, are they like hurtful racist, or that's you're a product of your generation? Not that makes it okay necessarily, but what do we always say in the trainings, James, about like when you pick affectations for a character, like there should be a reason why.
Yeah. Some people, like, there's a system for hindrances and advantages. Like, I'm kind of going back like White Wolf here.
Deadlands.
Yeah, don't pick one arm if you don't intend to play a character with one arm. Don't just pick it because you're like, oh, this will give me 2 points for me to be able to buy something in character creation. Like,
Right.
no, you have a reason that this person does this.
I picked paranoia for all of my characters because I, in fact, have paranoia. So, I
completely accidental moment in a funsies game that Jack was running for Cthulhu. One of our friends played a character that had alcoholism, playing an alcoholic character. And in the game, when she was going to go take a drink, she would excuse herself saying that she had to go take care of her cat. Or like, I have to go feed the cat. Eventually, the party knows what this is code for. Like, she's going to go get hammered. But what ended up happening is the party would make plans and would strategize for things. They wouldn't include her because she was unreliable, because she was drinking and getting drunk all the time. And just accidental therapy happened. There was some perspective taking and some empathic connection, and this player expressed to Jack, IRL, outside of the character, holy crap, like, this is what somebody that is, suffering from or even trying to recover from alcoholism deals with. She's like, I feel completely ostracized and separated from the rest of the group because I am playing this drinking habit.
Yep.
Like, because I am choosing the alcohol over interacting with the game. And she's just playing the character. Like, she was still involved, but she wasn't very useful, and she was drinking most of the time. So it wasn't that she's not a good role player. It wasn't that she didn't want to play the game. She chose this and then committed to playing this hindrance because there was a reason for it.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, she's like, oh my god. This is... Oh, crap. No.
Realization
an
moment.
awakening. we might say in Bodhana that she had an awakening or an understanding, right? Hey.
I haven't been a part of training yet, so I don't know what they're talking about.
We'll get you up to speed. I did want to share a bit of good news during the broadcast here. I got an awesome message, which, don't you know it, James? Damn it, the calendar. We may have to take a road trip on Thursday from Mancation.
Better be a really good reason.
My Hero Quest is set to arrive at my house on Thursday. My Hero Quest from Hasbro Labs, the redo of Hero Quest.
Oh, really?
Is set to get to my house on Thursday, and we're going on vacation on Wednesday. Not fair.
Not fair at all.
Not fair.
I have I have 2 copies of the original Hero Quest downstairs.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I have a friend who may want to buy one off of you if you're ever interested in selling.
I mean, if it's a lot of money, sure. Because then I can just buy more board games.
I was actually gonna say that why we could because we have a why don't we talk more specifically about the show? So we definitely have like stuff around the tabletop. What are some of the other awesome things, Crimson, that Bodhana on Twitch has to offer folks?
So we're going to be doing the Therapy Dungeons and not Dungeons Dragon. Oh my God, Therapy tabletop role playing game. Which is going to have, it's going to be one shots. We're going to have guests on. It's going to be a fun time. You guys are going to see how, you all, excuse me, are going to see how characters are created in a therapeutic situation and a quick one shot. Now, I'm sure that you're going to be like, well, how much can you see in a one shot? A lot. You can see a lot in a one shot. These guys, yeah, are amazing. So that is something very specific. The second thing that we're going to do, also related to tabletop, is that eventually we are going to have another one-shot game. And it's just going to be fun games that we get from our friends. Because Jack knows almost every single person who's created a TTRPG on the planet. So,
Oh, not that many people.
like, I'm not far off. I'm not far off.
No,
at
you're
all.
not. You're not. I do know a lot of people.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay. Stop licking me. I love you. So,
But mom.
so we're going to have another series of one shots where we're going to have some DM talk ahead of time where they're going to talk about how they set up their games and stuff like that, and some prep time for that. And then again, another one shot, and we're going to be looking for some indie type games, some that are a little lesser known. So not only are you all going to be able to see like, hey, here are some DM tips, but also here's a game you've probably never heard of, but you should definitely put some money into. And Jack has a plethora of games that aren't in print anymore. So I'm sure at some point that we will have some special guest games to come back from the grave that you all can see played for the very first time on Twitch, or at least on our channel.
Oh my God, I could probably run a session of It Came from the Late Show, which is where you play like some generic B movie. You never heard of this? What I'm like, Jay Leno, like, have you seen this? Have you heard of this? Where it was
I'm like, am I going to be Conan? Like, what is going to happen?
No. It's basically you play a B movie actor who. So the idea is that instead of your character being like in the same thing, your character is the actor, but the actor may be in like sci-fi movie 1 month or one time, but then that character will be in a Western another time.
I like it.
So it's a really cool system, and I actually know Bradley McDevitt, the designer, because they were just posting about it the other day in the old, I forget what the Dead Role Playing Games Society or Fans of Dead Role Playing Games. It's a Facebook group that I'm a member of, but so there's tons.
We both are actually.
Yeah,
this is my shocked face. I'm so shocked.
Yeah. I was just gonna say. So that's the one. That's totally gonna be awesome.
Yes. So that's so those are two different series with two different shows each, because we're not going to do the character creation and then jump into the game. We want them to have their own separate time. So the character creation will probably be a little bit shorter, as well as like DM prep and setup for a game, but you'll be able to see how interesting these things are from their perspective. And I mean, it's going to be live on Twitch, so maybe you can throw some ideas out there while they're creating a game. And I'm sure that they will. Why are you on the printer? I know you're down there.
Oh, what's awesome, Jack, is that she's talking to her dog, and I have to say the same things to my 4-year-old.
Pets, children, aren't they kind of just
Yeah,
the same thing?
It's amazing.
Do not get on that printer.
Well, go ahead.
We also have another show that's coming up that I'm sure everybody is going to love, and it's going to be called Table Boundaries. And I will let James tell you about Table Boundaries, because it's his show.
So Table Boundaries is going to be a discussion show where we're going to have special guests on, and it's going to be a roundtable discussion where we are basically going to talk about different aspects and ways of thinking about creating and maintaining safe space at the table. This whole little discussion even that we've had tonight about the some of the nuances of consent and how we kind of think about consent, and discussions of safety tools and mechanics and consent mechanics. We're going to actually have a show where we're going to bring some people on that can talk about different segments of establishing and maintaining safe space at the table and what that means to the game and the players. Like I said, that's going to be like a round table type thing. We're going to rotate people in and out guest wise so that we can have folks that can have a conversation about different sorts of foci as far as that subject goes, because it's it's a massive subject
Yeah.
to discuss and break down, and it won't be done
Huge.
Yeah.
over the course of like a couple episodes. Like there's lots to dive into there.
And our whole purpose behind this one particularly is I've been I wanted to create safe spaces for gamers for a very long time, and everywhere that means something different. But I know several people who don't they don't play TTRPGs because the Twitter community is toxic. They don't play TTRPGs because of black representation is terrible. They don't play because they're the gatekeeper men are jerks or whatever. So a huge goal of the three of us, which I absolutely love, is trying to make every table a safe table, so that anybody can sit down and play, and people aren't afraid to play anymore. Because there's so much I've gotten in my life out of this, as is most of us, out of TTRPGs. Moments that I will carry with me for the rest of my life, friends that I've made. So, making sure that that's available to everybody is a huge priority.
Yeah, and that's
Jack and I.
Go ahead, James.
Okay, Jack and I have actually done the con circuit. One of the panels that we conduct several times.
Get out of my head. This is where I was going. Yeah.
Best friends.
One of the panels that we conduct is gaming at your like friendly local game store, talking about it from an inclusionary aspect with regard to folks on the autism spectrum. And being able to like not only identify but be able to like sort of navigate some of those initial meetups and how to include folks that we just don't read social cues. You don't understand that the three of you that know each other at the table and might be playing together make a joke at the table, and this one person doesn't laugh at all. It doesn't mean that they're weird. It doesn't mean that the joke wasn't funny. They literally like just don't understand or humor or the social cues that you are putting out, and ways to be able to make that more inclusionary. That's like one of 100 discussions that we could have just about gaming with one of our regular groups is a group of kids that are varying forms of higher functioning on the autism spectrum. So we deal with that quite a bit. It's not just creating safe spaces, but it's also then understanding and identifying you have to make changes when you have to alter the table culture to be able to include people that don't feel like they can be. So it's called Table Boundaries. It is going to be consent and creating safe spaces, but I think it also is going to end up expanding over time to talk about table culture.
Yeah.
What that means, how it gets created, how people create a culture at the table, and even taking a look at sort of like clicky kind of things that can happen, even though you don't intend them to happen, and how to recognize that that's happening, respond to it. It's all sorts of. I could probably talk about this the rest of the night.
So moving on, I also am happy to be bringing a show that I've had for a while on my channel, Coffee with Crimson, and I'm bringing it over to the Bodhana channel. So once or twice a month, I'm going to be sitting down with one or two other people, and we're going to be talking about mental health stuff. I will be talking to professionals sometimes, and I will be talking to regular people, but non-medical professionals. I will be talking to a lot of different people.
Paraprofessionals and persons with Mental health, I would imagine.
There you go. Yes, so we're going to talk about mental health from the side of those of us with the mental health issue. So that hopefully we will open up some people's eyes to a lot of different things. Some of them are going to be easier to talk about subjects. One that we have in mind is we're going to talk about the mental health behind loving horror movies, and we're going to talk about PTSD. We're going to talk about bipolar. We're going to talk about all those things, but I also hope to talk about some things that are a little bit harder to talk about in the future, like intrusive thoughts is a pain to talk about, miscarriages and the mental health behind the people who have miscarriages, and, stuff like that. So, I'm excited to do that. I am excited to talk to all of the amazing people that are literally at Jack's fingertips that are happy to jump on and talk about what it is that they're passionate about. But also, every single one of these people are passionate about breaking down those mental health stigma barriers and making things a lot easier. And then I also will be interviewing people once a month. I'm gonna pick a random person. Not random. I'm gonna pick a person and I'm gonna talk to
somebody off the street. Hey, you! Get in here! I got a microphone.
You've got a mouth. You can use it.
What's that in your hand? Is that a sandwich? What kind of sandwich is that? Hard questions.
So I'm gonna be sitting down with different people in different industries, and we're just gonna talk about what they do and their stuff, and I get to ask them all of my fun questions and weird questions too, because I like to ask people how they make their peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Everybody does it differently. There's usually two that are the same, and it makes me giggle. I love it.
I have peanut butter and jelly vape juice. Does that count? I don't pour it on bread and eat it. What? Now now I'm the weird guy. Can I introduce the next show?
I mean, I can't say anything. I have mango, pear, cannabis elixir.
That sounds delicious.
That whole thing was not peanut butter or jelly or a sandwich. Discuss.
I gotta do this. All of the flavors inside of this vape are very vibrant when I put them in my mouth. Through my vape, I just dropped it. Oh dear. And I'm back.
They called it a pen at the store, but I could not write with it, and there was nothing that was appearing on the papers when I tried. So I put it back, and then somebody told me that I could put juice in it, but then the store only had the grapefruit, and I don't like the grapefruit juice.
Are you sure it wasn't just a very large nectarine? Sometimes your citruses can get convoluted.
Wasn't a nectarine because I used it. I put it next to the goiter on my neck because that's how I measure the size of the fruit.
Well, that makes sense.
It was not big enough. It was definitely not a nectar. It might have been a tangerine, but I
say that I am a squirrel wrangler. There you go.
What else do we have coming for you this season?
Crimson and I are gonna celebrate on Coffee with Crimson when Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 comes out. We're gonna do a no metaphor show where it's literally just going to be the two of us on camera drinking coffee together, celebrating Drax the Destroyer.
Yes, only Drax the Destroyer.
There's nothing in metaphor.
I want to apologize to everybody who has had to keep me on track. I am so sorry. And I understand your squirrel. Doug.
Are we that good at what we do? Please, Wicked, let me get started on Golden Girls.
Oh God, no, Wicked, shut up.
I would love to talk about the Golden Girls.
What show would you like to talk about, Jack?
I was going to say, Jack, I think this is a fantastic segue.
It is a fantastic segue.
Go right ahead.
So, we are also proud to announce that coming from the depths of the past to the Bodhana channel on Twitch is going to be the Bodhana Cast, which is kind of a variety show, a talk show combining a bunch of different segments all about gamers, gamer culture, beneficial use of tabletop role-playing as well as board games, and a whole lot of fun and laughter. It's a show that James and I did years ago on YouTube. If you actually go to the Bodhana Group YouTube channel, you can see our, what was it, like 14 or 15 episodes we did.
And those episodes would be like the barest of bones of what Jack and I are being allowed to bring to bear. Once we start producing
We're not
Bodhana
there.
Cast here
We
on
have
Twitch.
closed.
Yes.
So, but
I'm wearing. I know that this is only up to here. I am wearing pants. I was told to wear pants.
Yes. You
I'm
must
wearing
wear
shorts.
pants.
That still counts. So the reason the segue works, I'm sorry, Crimson,
Go ahead.
but the reason that the segue works is that one of our favorite segments is that every month when the show comes, there will be a segment called Legend, wait for it, Dairy, where James and I will each bring our ideas of a new version of Legendary Encounters, the upper deck building game. Yeah, that is going to be based around a different theme. This is based on a bit that we did on the old show where we wanted to design Christopher Lloyd encounters. So all of the heroes that you would pick would be like one of Christopher Lloyd, like there's a Reverend Jim set, then there's a Judge Doom set.
I would like to see that as a TTR, like just a one shot. Everybody has to play a different version of Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah, and there would be like the schemes for the game would have been things like Marty or what does a yellow light mean? You know, like those would have been the names of the schemes. Game. So now we're just gonna design Legendary Encounters games, and I told Jack, wouldn't it be fun to do one for the Golden Girls?
Absolutely. Because
that was in our first production meeting.
Yeah, Stan would be a playable character as well as a mastermind.
So when I told these two they had 4 hours, they looked like kids in a candy store. They only 4 hours. Yes, I'm going to let you two go into the wild for 4 hours. You just do your thing. So, I don't know if it's going to be like, it's going to be like a very interesting, colorful, dumpster fire. I was going to say train wreck, but it's not going to be a train wreck. It's going to be a colorful.
Oh, no, it is going to be a dumpster fire.
So, I wouldn't miss it.
All of the good.
The sights, the smells, the heat.
Yes.
I do want to mention, though, that there will be some actual, there will be some substance to it, too. The main crux of what Jack and I did on the Bodhana cast was we would take a game and break it down into its therapeutic components. If it was a board game, we would actually have it set up on the table in front of us. And as we talk about the therapeutic components of the game, we would give you actual, in-game situations that would highlight the things that we were talking about, the skills that it would develop, how those things got done during gameplay. It's not going anywhere. We're just adding a lot of shenanigans and tomfoolery on either side of it. Create a
ridiculous
hell just
sandwich.
happened sandwich.
Yes.
The world's most ridiculous sandwich.
Dare we say shamrocks and shenanigans?
Oh my
perhaps. 90s references ever last my name upon the House of Pain.
And what did you eat? She knew I was talking.
Still
to her.
sounds like she's talking to my 4-year-old. Honestly, these are all things.
I had deconstructed shepherd's pie tonight.
It's Satan farts. That's Satan's
Whoa!
farts.
That's
a long
the
time
worst
since I had those.
flavor ever. Satan's fart.
Yeah, Satan's farts. And the one thing that me and James are very excited about.
Brimstone.
Would you like to tell them, James?
Take it away, Crimson. No, we all shared this. It's your turn.
Okay. We have a monthly show that is called Roll for Terror. And we are very excited because once a month, James or Matt, who is not here tonight, are going to scare the shit out of people in a TTRPG. It could be Deadlands, like it will be this month.
Yep.
It will be Deadlands will be the 27th, so Thanksgiving weekend. And I am in it because I love Deadlands. So it could be Deadlands, it could be 10 Candles, it could be Dungeons and Dragons, it could be anything. It's going to be the dealer picks, which is whoever is running it, is going to pick the game for the month, and then we gather up the players, and they're going to be guests as well. And let me tell you that both Matt and James have a very disturbing tendency for horror. I'm proud of them level of horror, okay? Just Jack, knock it off. Son of a bitch. I'll never look at Slender Man the same. I will never look at Slender Man the same.
Matt would be mad at me if I did not try to do that every time his name is mentioned. It's almost like calling Slender Man. He's Canada Man.
Yes. And I am terrified. Like, I have a new phobia.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, Troy would like to do the Street Fighter RPG.
Oh, sir. Oh.
He's also a big fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I'm sure you have that one as well.
I actually have my original copy that I bought back in 1989, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, another strange.
Are you talking about the Palladium? Are you talking about the Palladium?
If one can call it a role-playing game, yes. That one.
Right.
That actually, no, it's important to note because in that book, one of the cool things about it is an actual Turtles like comic strip drawn by Eastman and Laird that actually has the original April O'Neil, who was black in the comics.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah, most people only know her yellow jumpsuited version.
I also think that you just successfully combined another two words as, like, will now be dritten by.
Dritten by?
Instead of drawn and written. You corrected yourself really quickly. But you were
so
like,
it's
I was back here with a comic that was dritten. I've written and drawn by. Yeah. Dritten.
Jack is an innovator.
It's also what happens when you go out for a night
also
with
unmedicated. Oh, you have to write down every time you do everything you do.
We're just dritting around.
I imagine Snoop would have wanted to play Drizzed. Wow! If humans were crickets. Sheesh.
So, So, oh yeah, no, Wicked. I have surrounded more people who make puns and dad jokes with me.
I'm playing Drizzle, my nizzle.
Oh my god. Anyway, so yes, we're gonna have a monthly horror one shot. It's going to be amazing. There's a lot of really fun games that can be played. We have plans beyond that. We have a ton of different ideas. Thankfully, the amazing panelists from Save Against Fear are going to be coming back to kind of redo their panel so we can make sure it gets over to YouTube.
Yep.
We greatly appreciate. Why do you have to bring that up, Troy? Why? We appreciate so much that they are going to come back and do their panels and have amazing talks, and then maybe we'll even be able to get some of the panels that didn't get to happen. Possibly, we'll see.
No, that's an idea that I'm exploring. The idea because there are a lot of folks that feel nervous going to conventions and speaking in front of large crowds. And one of the things that Bodhana has done over the years with our panels at Save Against Fear, and especially when we did last year and then this year online, is we love encouraging professionals who have never spoken in front of crowds to, come and do a panel with us. So if there's information, if you have a topic that you want to share but you don't have a place to do it,
yep,
let us be your vehicle. Let us help to, you know,
So the schedule,
bring you up.
Crimson, I know you had mentioned this. We're going to be putting out the schedule to share with everybody, so you guys know when these shows are going to be taking place, and what times.
Yes. We have a rough schedule right now. We're still working it out. Everybody is a very busy person, but we want to make sure that we give you great quality content. So at the moment, the first and third Saturday of the month, you will be hanging out with me at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time doing Coffee with Crimson. And the second Sunday of the month, at 2 p.m., we will be doing interviews. And let's see. And then right now, the Bodhana cast with both Jack and James. Oh my god. I was like Captain what?
You can do it. It's fine.
Will be the second Saturday at 6 p.m. Roll for Terror will be the fourth Saturday at 6 p.m. And Table Boundaries will be the third Sunday at 6 p.m. So I know I said a lot of words and a lot of times, but I promise you that I will get a schedule that will be down here in our Twitch links underneath. And then also make sure that you follow, because as soon as we polish the brand new Discord server, we will be letting people join and have fun. And one of the things that I love about the Discord, which was a great idea on James's part, is that we actually set up channels for things like the Bodhana cast and Coffee with Crimson, where if you have an idea, you have something you want to see, you have something we'd like to talk about, a topic, a game that came out, anything like that, we have room for you in the Discord to just give us some recommendations, and we'll see what we can do about it. Answer questions going forward, because we really want to make sure that everything that we're doing involves you guys as well. You all as well.
You are a community.
Yes.
You are a people.
Yes. The Bodhanaverse, as Jack likes to call
it.
So, but yeah.
Patent pending.
Yeah, we're very excited. Me and James vomited so many ideas. Ideas.
It did sort of seem like that too. Like, hey, do you have any ideas? Awesome.
I think we
just spell that.
we started off with 16 different TTRPGs. Maybe we should just narrow this down. And then also, it'll be sporadic at the moment, but also we will be popping up with video games as well. So we're not going to be focusing just on TTRPGs. We are not going to focus just on mental health and therapy. We are going to touch on everything, because gaming is everything. Gaming is everywhere. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited. I'm excited for everything that we are going to do. And bring you on this amazing journey.
Yes.
Fun. And donate money.
Oh, I just want to say, at the risk of being maudlin for a second, so because I want to steal Jack's line, this whole thing, none of this is possible without Crimson doing it and helping us to kick this off and helping us to organize it and
producing
I don't
it.
Thank you doesn't cut it. You are a tremendously fantastic person, and we are completely thrilled, not just to have met you, but to be working with you on this. And I think that should be said publicly, so that other people hear it, including you.
My therapist paid you to do this.
We want people to know, because then they need to tell somebody.
The check cashes, I say the things. So Every time Jack and I bring up what we're doing with Bodhana and we talk about the different things that we have going, you are in those conversations and you are always like celebrated as being one of the people that is coming along with us on this thing. So, like, thank you. It doesn't do it enough justice, but thank you.
I am the mold from Resident Evil 7. You are stuck with me. I climbed up your back like a gremlin, and I am here now. No getting me off. But
I love mold.
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
But I said
We have
okay,
Sorry.
I said this to James. I'm gonna say it to you because if we're gonna be nice to people and it's seen public, then sure. So, Jack and James, I wanted to tell you that I cannot tell you how much I appreciate the opportunity you're giving me for somebody who has PTSD, complex PTSD, and ADHD. Working with people is always terrifying because I have been fired or demoted for different things that literally just have to do with my mental health because people don't know how to work with it, how to understand it. So the fact that I get to work with people who are not only treating me like a human being, but as somebody important is just like all of the emotions that I shove down deep. So I do not feel them. But I cannot tell you how thankful I am just for how amazing you've been to me and how amazing you continue to be to me, and just grant me this just amazing opportunity to work with people who actually care about what they're doing and care about me as a person.
I don't know if there's any room left on the cake for any more icing. But no, I do have one thing. One of the biggest things that I can admit, and I know that I've told you both this separately, but again, I will, this. Actually, it's funny, James, that you said you didn't want to get maudlin. And I'm going to again throw one of the reasons why I am the person on Win Jack Berkenstock's games because of my encyclopedic trivial knowledge of things that no one else considers important.
It's absolute.
On SCTV, Second City Television, a Canadian broadcast sketch comedy show starring John Candy, Joe Flaherty, Eugene Levy, Rick Moranis, all those wonderful people we love, there was actually a character played by Joe Flaherty called Sammy Maudlin. And one of the things on the Sammy Maudlin show was every time it was John Candy, Joe Flaherty, and Eugene Levy, and they would get to a certain point of the show where they go, I just want to be able to tell you, Sammy, seriously, and I don't just say this about anybody, but it was this whole where they were just complimenting each other very, very directly and emotionally. But one of the biggest things that I've always had to have struggles with is over managing thing and not being able to trust others to continue and assist in carrying and developing this vision of what Bodhana was years and years ago. I have a hard time letting go, and I have a hard time letting people take something and do it because I had been let down a lot in the past by a lot of people. But the two of you are two of the and Matthew as well, who you're going to meet later, but people who are not only as committed and passionate about this as I am, but folks who are helping me work with an aspect of my mental health as well by being people who are so good and trustworthy and genuine and who they are, that is allowing me to be able to work on myself. Maybe you didn't even realize that you were doing that. So,
I mean, I don't, just to be honest, I feel like I came up, I kicked you in the shin, and I took a part of it and I ran.
That is not accurate at all.
But it kind of, when I had to sit you down and said, Jack, I'm going to work with you. This is what it felt like. I kicked. It felt like I kicked you in the shins.
Are fine.
And I took it.
I just got this scene in my head of Crimson running up, kicking you in the shit and being like, I got your lunch money, Birkenstock, and then just runs away. Like, I can't.
You're not getting this lunch money back until I run your podcast. That's the deal. Oh, that's not it at all. Because
I'm
trust
getting a
me.
cheeseburger and a Dr. Pepper, you son of a bitch.
Oh, Jack, years ago, like, you have kicked me in the shin, went to grab it, and I would, like, you could have drugged me behind a speeding car, like an Old West movie, like, tied to a horse, and I'd be like, I will not give away control! I must do all of the things!
Yeah, because I have no idea what that's like.
Yeah. We in no way have reasons that we are such aligned.
No, it's wonderful. Meeting you both was is an amazing moment in my life that I will never forget. I'm so happy to be on this train and going wherever we're going.
Straight to hell if we don't change our ways. What?
I mean, that's why I signed up, right? Like,
I was told there would be hell.
like I was told there would be a handbasket, and we're going on vacation. No, but this is gonna be amazing. I love the fact that I found something where I can be myself, and this is just, and we're all celebrated for being ourselves, and this is gonna be great. However, I do warn any of you, if you're gonna go to Rule for Terror, you be prepared to walk out with new trauma. I've heard some things that I've heard some things that James has talked about with groups. Okay? And I am excited and terrified.
Full disclosure, unfortunately, and this was not intended, and I'm not like, don't wear this necessarily as a badge of honor, but one of the kids in our groups, I have a couple of players that really wanted to go back to Deadlands. And it was part of a discussion when we were talking about, like, okay, what's the next game we're going to do? And a couple of the kids had said, like, man, I really want to go back to Deadlands. That was so awesome. And one of the kids in our group, much like in the chat earlier, went, yeah, that's going to be a big fat nope for me.
Yeah. This is Nopesville.
Just straight up, he was like, I will never play that again. No. Nope. No.
They were like, it wasn't
bad.
really terrifying or scary terrifying. They were like, it just gave, it just felt so hopeless. And just, because wasn't that what he said during the comment, James? Was like, it just felt so, oh my God. And he's like, and the pandemic is enough. So, yeah. But James was like,
I've had enough hope drained from my life.
I apparently painted a dreary picture.
Yeah, this doesn't surprise me at all. But yes, so many amazing things for all of us here. Video games from me and James and Matt, and maybe we can drag Jack into some. As long as they're not horror games.
No. I do actually, in my mind, I have the plan. I want to run a long-term campaign of some kind, like a live play that won't be just therapeutic. I love running role-playing games, and James can tell you I'm very good at it, actually. But I just haven't determined what system I want to run, because I want to make it one that's kind of special. I may actually run a team of branch riders.
Ooh.
As we get close to launching and announcing our system.
Troy wants you to stream Back for Blood, Jack.
Oh, I will totally. Oh my God, you'll hear me swear more than anything else. That's my favorite time to swear, and one of the rules my wife and I have is we don't believe a game is good until we've swore consistently, or we keep asking for the ref or the police because we've been robbed. That's how we know a good game.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I could definitely see all of us playing Back for Blood.
Oh, we're definitely going to have a special episode after Ghostbusters Afterlife comes from, because one, I will need to share the amounts of tears and hugs that James and I gave each other, because the trailer gives me tears. And screw you, critics, Eternals was awesome.
I haven't seen it yet. We haven't made it to the theater yet.
No spoilers, but it was amazing.
Yes, I'm sure it was.
Yes.
All right, so it is after 10 o'clock, and all three of us can literally talk for hours, like we have been.
But we're not going till midnight?
No.
No sleep till. Sorry.
No, I have a 6-year-old. James also has to sleep. He has small children.
Oh, I have a blind dog and 5 cats.
That sounds like a you problem with the 5 cats. Like,
At
you
the
made
moment,
it after
yeah.
one. You made a choice.
Wow! Can I get some Kevlar up in here? Because shots have been fired.
I've had cats my whole life. Okay, you made a choice.
I did.
Okay.
No, this was awesome, and please come on board with us, folks. We want you to have fun. We're gonna have fun. Everybody's gonna have fun, and we want to hear your ideas as well. Thank you, Troy.
Jack, I'm sorry. I was looking around here, and it looks like I don't have any cream left for that sick burn you've got on your forehead.
Oh my God. So.
That's my hair. It's my little Bruce Willis.
Okay,
What?
so.
Yes.
Make sure you come back next Saturday. Me and Jack are going to be doing the very first Coffee with Crimson. So we're going to be dissecting Jack and having fun with that. So, but thank you all so much. Please be kind to yourself. Take care of yourself. Drink some water.
Yes.
Be kind to each other. And we'll see you next time.
We hope to see you around the table real soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.